So while Lior sets up the presentation, let me tell you a story. I reached out to Zohar Raz. I don't know who knows him. He's a senior in Microsoft. Zohar used to be reserve duty officer when I was in active duty. And I let Zohar know I'm going to be in Seattle because we were connected on LinkedIn. And I told him, Zohar, what are the chances? Like 20 years, come over. He's like, yeah, this is amazing. Thanks for letting me know. And then he came back to me and he said, you know what? We're not going to make it. We've got Sting tickets for tonight. So what I'm drawing from that is that everyone here actively made the decision to come here and listen to us rather than go to a Sting concert. That's amazing. Thank you. You're an amazing crowd. So yeah, and Sting and I actually share a birthday, so this is very symbolic. I don't know in what way, but okay. So you heard so many different perspectives tonight, and I'm probably the last speaker, I'm assuming, or maybe not. Okay, so I'll leave you with some energy, hopefully, and I want to share my personal perspective. People came up to me earlier, said they heard me in Kaplan. I hope I'm going to be sending out different energy if I talk too close to the mic. Blame it on Kaplan. I want to tell you how I got off my couch. I didn't include a picture of the couch, but I did include pictures of family. So early 2023, or maybe the end of last year, I was just living my life. I was in software development in IBM. We spent the weekend going hiking around the country with my 12-year-old daughter and my husband. And we had Hanukkah at my in-laws. And Zohar, my youngest, she's lighting the candles. And she's dressed as a unicorn. And just normal kind of family life in Israel. But then kind of like chaos broke, and the next slide, I mean, it was chaos here as well, but you don't see it in the pictures, luckily. And the chaos was mandated by this government and kind of like declaring they're going to change something that initially sounded like a technical, nuanced, professional, like who even thinks about constitutional law, right? We've got laundry to do. Who thinks about those topics? But that got me off the couch because I got a personal invitation. I'll tell you why I got it in a minute, but I ended up January 14th standing on stage in a bima in what was referred to later as the Umbrella Rally. Anyone attended that by any chance? Amazing. So you keep me honest on this one. It was just an amazing sensation. Thousands of people standing in the rain, not going anywhere. It was delayed multiple times because of electricity outages. We ended up going on stage just with the audio system, no lighting, no pictures from the event, just a friend taking a picture of me from down the stage and me taking a selfie with Ivri Lider. Definitely a highlight of the protest so far. But then I'm on stage there, and whoever of you have been to Abima Square, I'm looking over the heads of the people. We're trying to get the numbers. How many people are even there? But you know, the internet doesn't refresh because the network is just overloaded. And I'm looking, and you know, Rothschild Boulevard kind of like spills down to Abima, and I can't see I don't see pavement. I just see umbrellas. I'm like, okay, this looks like a big event. Oh crap. Like, really at the moment, it felt like something is happening there. And I think then I kind of like made my own commitment saying, okay, I'm in this for the long run. Like, this is the second week. It's the first time so many people came. The next week they moved it to Kaplan because this was actually really not safe anymore to be so crowded in this spot. And then I kind of like jumped in. I said, okay, I'm in on this one. And then next slide is the question, okay, how did you get in that stage? Why you or why me, in case you're talking to yourself as I am? So I'll go back in the story and I'll tell you I grew up in kibbutz Ramat David. It's a very small kibbutz up north, and it's mostly known because there's a huge air base next to it. Very famous, you know, the attack on the Iraqi nuclear plant came out of there back in the 80s. And I grew up under the airplanes, and I could tell apart different models of planes based on the sound. So naturally, I dreamed about becoming a fighter pilot. But as a child, as a girl, that option was not available to me. And until Alice Miller came along and said, I want to become a fighter pilot. I was at high school that time, and Alice was very persistent about this. And she ended up opening the door for women with the support of the Supreme Court in this defining ruling, mandating the military and, you know, Ministry of Defense and the government actually to provide equal opportunity for women in combat service in specific units. And I ended up trying to qualify to the Fighter Pilot Academy. I failed gloriously, but that led to another interesting event, again, directly impacted by Alice Miller ruling, was me becoming the first woman to graduate the Naval Officer Academy, which was really exciting back at the time. I know people are probably seeing the date of graduation here and trying to calculate my age. Let me save you the math. I'm 27. Now, let's move forward, and I want to mention why, I mean, Smadal gave, you know, much more than I know about constitutional law. But this is kind of like a breakdown. I'll not get into the details of it. But basically, what got me off the couch is this understanding that if the Supreme Court is dispowered or dismantled, as this reform plans to, this is actually the only safeguard we have on civil rights in Israel. Because we have the Declaration of Independence, but we don't have a constitution. We do have foundational laws in Israel, but there's no foundational law that ensures equity or equality. The only thing we have are the rulings touching the civil rights. I'm not going to get into the details of this. I'm pretty much afraid I'm going to make a mistake, and Smadal's going to call me out. But just in general, I gave you 3 examples. The first, again, I mentioned the Alice Miller ruling and equal opportunity for women in certain roles in the military. There's one about Jonathan Danilovich, a gay flight attendant who fought and won equal rights for same-sex partners, kind of like starting to pave the way for you know, gay marriage in a way, again, with Israel's limitations. And the last one is about ethnicity and the Manuel ruling from 2009. Sephardi students wanted to sign up to school, and they were rejected based on their ethnicity because they weren't Ashkenazi. And this is pretty remarkable, again, talking about this in the US, being discriminated based on ethnicity. So even when like claims come up saying the Supreme Court only takes care or cares for this sector, the privileged and things like that, reality and facts tell us the other story. It's the other way around. So civil rights and minorities are protected only by our Supreme Court and by our judiciary, which is now under attack. So going back to, or going to the next slide, when I look at that young, handsome lady, sorry, that young woman, and why am I here today still wearing that T-shirt? Because I think this is my flag and this is my calling. The fact that I had the privilege and the opportunity to present myself, my skills, and really to be forged by this course of life. And this is now my commitment to speak up. So I'm moving that identity into my activist identity, and I'm actually doing this full time. As I quit my day job a few weeks ago, and I'm really bringing this statement. I wouldn't clap for that if I was my banker, but go for it. So again, kind of like bringing forward that part of my identity and speaking up and voicing, what I was able to achieve personally through I would say, the system that did take care of the rights. Moving forward, and enough with the nostalgia, I guess, for now. This is from a mission I took part in June. I went to New York and kind of like started this, I think, international mission, bringing the protest and voicing the concerns with the Jewry of the US. And I'll share a bit more about it in the next slide, but just I think this is hilarious and accurate and remarkable, like to try and dig deeper a bit and look at our roots and what do we stand up for. And again, this is me in a subway with a delegation of brothers and sisters in arms. I know they've been here, dear friends, Iftach Golov and I go a long way back. And again, kind of like this was a first attempt to voice what's going on in Israel in an organized way. And I'll talk a bit more about the mission, but I want again to talk a bit more about my personal connection. Again, it's a very personal presentation. So I'm half American. My mother was born in New Jersey. She made Aliyah as a teenager. She met my father in a kibbutz. He was a Holocaust survivor as an orphan. Came to Israel, made Aliyah, illegal Aliyah before the state was established. They met in a kibbutz, and here we are. Here I am, And what you see here on the left is Doda Debbie, my mother's sister. She stayed in the US. She spent maybe a couple of years in Israel and went back. She built her family and life here in Israel. She's a retired librarian. And she went to New York. Last week, she demonstrated for the first time for Israel. I think you could recognize the T-shirt. And let me tell you this government is doomed because they got Doda Debbie mad. And what you see in the middle, when I Googled Henry Rosenbaum, which is my great-grandfather, Debbie's grandfather, actually, the New York Times archive pulled up the obituary. He passed away in 1972, long before I was born, decades before I was born. And actually what it reads here, he was the president of the Zionist Organization of New Jersey. I could recognize a theme in this family. And when I go to the right, what I see is my family protesting with me in Kaplan. Zohar, 8-year-old, created a banner. And it says, in a democracy, it's not in the picture, but she was on the front page of Haaretz for a few minutes that night. And it says, in a democracy, girls are free. And her father is carrying the weight of having a feminist kid, and Yav, my daughter, and me again. So I think, again, this is my current mission, as I see it, is, if you go to the next slide, is just continuing the family legacy. We're Zionists, okay? So being a Zionist, or loving Israel, caring for Israel at this day and time means supporting the pro-democratic movement. That's my interpretation, and I'm part of this joint mission. You saw the video of the coalition, the new organization I've founded and I'm actively volunteering on full-time, Saving Our Shared Home. Michal's organization, and Unacceptable, the amazing hosts and partners in this mission. And we put up a campaign to cover our expenses, firstly, because we almost are breaking even on this one, but also because we think this community is setting a role model. And I shared that opinion earlier with some of the leaders here in the room and the rabbis. You're remarkable, Seattle, because you've been able to bring together the voice of the Israeli expats and the concerns from Israel, harness those to the deep, concern the rabbi shared earlier in very profound statement to Israel, and joining forces, joining arms, and really building this joint venture of caring for Israel, fighting for it, being active, being vocal, and saying, yes, we do have differences. Michal talked about conflicts, but we're able to see a shared vision, a shared mission. And moving forward, what we want to do is we want to do more of this. We want to bring this to 3,500 communities in the US. We want to build this type of connection. Basically, we want 3,500 Seattles. I'm not sure the world could deal with 3,500 Seattles, but seriously, you cracked here something, and we want to bring it forward to more and more communities, because once we do that, we're going to safeguard Israel, the Jewish and democratic state. And I want just to take a moment and thank you again so much for your commitment and dedication and your attention. I'm privileged to be here and stand here. I'm honored. Thank you very much.